I was like, well, it's another name for the Pennsylvania state flower. It's the Pennsylvania mountain laurel. Yeah, but spoon. That doesn't make sense with beer. I'm like, I go, yeah, I realize that. That's why it's spoonwood, and I just gave you the meaning. He's just like, just doesn't make sense to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children over the age of 21, welcome to the Hop Nation USA podcast. That familiar voice you're hearing is Sam. He is back on the podcast today for episode 49. With me, as always, are my friends, Steve and Adam, co-host extraordinaires who do the podcast weekly in my absence. So, good to be back with you guys today. Steve, to my right, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I could not be better right now. Could
Cool.
not be better. I don't want to spoil it and say why.
Okay.
So we're just going to go to Adam.
Find out how Adam's doing.
And find out how Adam's doing. That's right.
I'm also doing well, and I also will not spill the beans.
I don't know if you're as excited about this episode.
No, I actually am pretty excited for this one. We're coming into a big stretch on the podcast here.
That is true.
We got a big stretch of episodes coming up, and I'm actually really excited for them.
It all kicks off here with episode 49.
To make episode 49 even bigger and better, we also have another special guest on the show today. So with us to drink some awesome Pittsburgh beer today is Jason Cercone. So Jason, why don't you say hello to the audience out there?
What's up, people? How you doing? Glad to be here, guys.
Now, this is probably the 7th podcast you've done this week, or?
Yeah, honestly, it's been a while since. Oh wait, no, I do have my own podcast still.
Yeah.
Well, we pre-recorded a bunch of episodes,
Oh, okay.
so we're
Right on.
getting towards the end of the bank where we're gonna have to do another sit down and.
Yeah, I was gonna
record
say
a bunch of
I just listened to that show, so I.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun doing all these podcasts, but yeah, definitely make my rounds. I haven't been on a good beer podcast in a while, so I'm glad to be sitting with you guys.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Happy to have
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that don't know, Jason is kind of a marketing, craft beer salesman, jack of all trades, connoisseur, all of the above.
I would just go
type
with
deal.
the guy.
The guy.
The guy.
The guy.
So I'm in the Roman Reigns category.
I don't know. Did anybody unwantedly push you, or?
I've been getting shoved down the throats of America for the last 2 or 3 years, so I guess I can take that and wear it like a badge of honor.
Hey, there you go. Well, we are happy to have you, and we're happy to be drinking some beer with you on the show today.
Speaking of,
And we're going to get into the beer. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, we are drinking Pittsburgh beers today. Since we have the guy, the Pittsburgh craft beer guy, on the show with us here today, we thought, what better way to showcase some of the great regional beer here that we have in Pittsburgh than to drink it on the show with you guys. So we have some great beers lined up. I'm very excited for everything that we have. We have some new beers from some of our biggest and best breweries. So can't wait to try them. So Steve, why don't you get us kicked off here with our first beer of the episode?
All right. And I think it's important to note that all 3 beers we're going to have tonight are canned. And they're pretty recently canned beers as well.
yes. Yeah, so these aren't just growler fills or anything
Right.
like that.
We're not growler fills or bottles that have been hanging around, but
These are fully mobile.
And all of these brews were also purchased at the actual brewery where they were canned.
right, because you live close and you can get to those. But the first one we're going to have tonight is the Grist House Double-Edged Sword, which is a double dry hop double IPA. And it's going to be coming in at 8% alcohol by volume. There's not much on the IBUs or the hops. They're not releasing that information because I tried to look and I couldn't find it. What they do say, though, is you're going to find notes of tangerine and grapefruit. Adam, you seem concerned.
I am concerned.
Well, there's no need to be concerned, Adam, because if you remember from many episodes ago, well, I guess it wasn't that long ago, we actually sat down with the brewers, Kyle and, one of the owners and the head brewer at Grist House, Kyle and Sean, and we had some beers with them. And as I recall, you like those beers, Adam.
That is very true.
So here
It
we
is very
have
true.
one of their new specialties, this double dry hopped double-edged sword.
But what do I always say whenever we have an IPA or a big IPA, double IPA, something like that? What do I always say?
Well, you say yucky and we laugh at you.
I say that internally. No, I always say I will go into this with an open mind.
Well, it's good that you have an open mind.
That's right. It's a new beer. I'm willing to give it a chance.
So while I pour these out, I just want to point out to
What's going on? You can't see through this. I've never seen this type of beer. What the hell? I'm kidding.
this is definitely a New England style.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason already got us kicked off by remarking on how it looks. It's hazy as hell. Looking at orange juice, I get orange juice.
See, I disagree. I would go with pineapple.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
go more with the
okay.
pineapple
Yeah,
juice
all right.
myself, yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit lighter. All right.
Yeah, not as much orange in this one, but on the nose, you can smell the hops.
This is the
just
same
pouring
beer.
out of this guy. Yeah, I mean it is a beer. I mean it is a beer.
Yes, it is beer. You got it.
This guy's good.
Well, you guys don't pull any punches on this show, do you? Damn.
Well-
Not in my league.
we shoot it straight, Jason. We don't mess around with this craft beer podcast. But yes, this is a Sam beer. It's very dank. It's very citrusy. It's hazy as hell, and it smells just delightful. So.
Yeah, I'm getting those notes that they're talking about, the grapefruit and the tangerine.
I agree. I think it's time that we drink this bad boy.
Oh, fuck, I've already taken like 3
Oh,
sips.
I'm sorry.
Jason's
That's
one
fine.
step
I
ahead of us.
didn't get the rule breakdown of when and...
You don't have to abide by our rules.
Yeah, that's one thing you'll learn about me. I definitely don't fuss over all that stuff. I'm diving in.
Sometimes that's the best way. We exaggerate a little bit on the show, and it takes us a while to get to the beer.
I'll tell you what, that is good. That's another winner by Grist House as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I had one of these last night. Actually, I couldn't help myself. I bought a 4-pack when I was down at the brewery, and it was amazing last night, and it's amazing today. I mean, it's citrusy, it's flavorful, but it's also clean and smooth at the same time too. It's not overly bitter, and it sits so nicely on the palate.
Yeah, these guys have been doing some tremendous beers in this New England format. I mean, they hitting all of those characteristics you just said. The flavorfulness, the hop bitterness is there, but it's very subdued. They're doing some great things up at Grist House. Got to appreciate their beers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no strange back end. Like, it's not harsh at all in any way.
That is the one thing I do appreciate on this beer is it doesn't have that hop residue where it just sort of sticks around like you're eating on a hot pellet. I'm glad that doesn't exist on this beer.
So do you like it?
Yeah, do you have any further thoughts for us?
Do you really want them? No, in reality, for the style, it is pretty decent and it is as delivered. Again, it goes back to personal taste. But for the style, I like it. I think it serves the style well.
So at this point in drinking it, it's not something that's on par with the other double IPAs that you really like.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Am I going to finish it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
I respect your opinion, but once again, I don't care for it like most of the audience. Because it's wrong. No, I'm just joking. No, that's great. I mean, Grist House, they just never disappoint. And I was actually, when I was down at the brewery, I had a beer. It was another double dry hopped IPA. I don't know if you've had it yet, Jason. It's called the Chameleon.
I have not.
Slightly different than this. Not as hazy, but it packed a very flavorful hop punch to it, and it was just dynamic. It was so good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can move on into the actual meat of the show.
Yes. We have the beer. We may as well have the meat now.
Yeah. So we have a guest, so we might as well ask him some questions.
I just-
actually put them to use.
That I'm being ranked above the beer in regards to the meat of the show says a lot. Thanks, guys.
I mean, we can drink beer anytime. And
And we do.
yeah, Sam was already drinking at Grist House last night. He didn't have to record anything about it. He's been there, done that.
No, I did not.
Why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit more? We already kind of sang your praises that you are the guy in the Pittsburgh craft beer scene. So
Well, I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
maybe just give us a little history about how that came to be.
Yeah, I moved to Pittsburgh back in 2004 from a little town up north of here called Bradford, PA.
Okay.
Really not a ton going on up there in regards to beer, and even to this day, it's still very desolate wasteland in regards to good beer. There's a couple bars that have caught on, but it's still pretty basic. But when I got to Pittsburgh, I started to discover more beer just because you go to places like Smokin' Joe's was probably the big place that turned me on to the fact that, wow, look at all of this beer there is to consume. And then my buddy brought home a 6-pack of, I think it was Rogue Dead Guy one night.
Ah, yes.
And that was really, I was like, wow, beer with flavor. Interesting. I'm gonna capitalize on this or build on this. And
Something I've not seen in Bradford, PA.
yeah, right.
Novel concept.
And then we all learned, like, because we started getting into more of that stuff, so we started discovering Stone and Sierra Nevada, and not realizing we grew up on swill. You got to put a governor on these big beers. We weren't doing that at first, so it was like, thank God we're at home doing this because we couldn't get off the couch. But we grew up over time, and that just evolved over the ongoing years, and I started to realize just going forward that there was a lack of education. Like, I as I got more into it, I was seeing, like, the scene was still evolving, and when I was starting to get a little more serious about this, there wasn't a lot of local breweries. There was maybe 10 at that time. And right around the time I started blogging about it was when Grist House and Hitchhiker and Brew Gentleman and so on and so forth hit the scene, and then from there it was just that was all game changing. And look at where we're at now here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's incredible the growth that we've had.
We're 40 plus breweries now,
And we're still
Something
going.
like that.
Yeah, it's tremendous. And even with that many breweries, I still see that there are a lot of people out there that still are. They're either unwilling to learn because it's just not something they care about, or they just. They may know a little bit, but it shocks me to talk to people that may live a mile from a brewery and don't even know it exists. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've said this on multiple podcasts before that, I've always compared it to, like, if an arts and crafts store opened a mile from my house, I wouldn't know because I'm not into that. So therefore, why would I pay attention? And it's the same if you're not big into beer like all four of us are, and how like many people are, then you might not notice it, and it really doesn't land in your wheelhouse. So. Yeah, that's been the evolution of life in beer, and yeah, it's been a fun ride, and we have a lot of great people in this scene, and I'm fortunate to have made friends with a lot of them and written features on them, helped them in numerous ways, and it's a great world to be a part of.
I mean, it's interesting. You made a comment about how some people haven't really discovered craft beer yet. There's still so many eyes that need to be opened in that realm. And, I've talked to some of those people, and sometimes it's a slightly older generation, and I say to them, have you tried this? Or there's a brewery down the street. Have you checked it out yet? And they're like, well, I don't like beer. And that's like the phrase, it's like nails on the chalkboard to me, because all I want to say to them is, look, everybody likes beer. You just maybe haven't found the right style for you.
Exactly.
I mean, beer today is not what it was 30 years ago.
No.
I mean, now it's just so much different, so much richer. And, there's really something out there for everyone.
Yeah, and now we have so many great opportunities to drink beer right from the source, and it doesn't get any better or fresher than that. And like you were saying, Sam, you were at Grist House just last night, and you're drinking it 30 feet from where it was produced. That's a great thing, and we have wonderful places in town to take advantage of stuff like that. So.
And not only that, you have the opportunity to talk to the guys and girls that are creating the beer. It's a very accessible community. If you want to talk shop with them, not a problem.
Yep. And that's why I'm a big advocate. If you go to a beer event, don't bury your face in Untapped and and trying to get a badge by checking in 50 beers. Go talk to the brewers and talk to the owners. They want to converse, and they're happy to tell their story and give you the information you're looking for. So you don't need to get it from a phone in that instance. You can get it straight from the source.
Absolutely.
So you just brought up, events that people should be enjoying around Pittsburgh. We have a whole bunch anymore. It's hard to keep track of which
Pretty much every weekend,
it's hard to keep track of which events we should be going to. Are there any events that you want to put out as like must attends, or like what's coming up that everybody should kind of go to?
I think it really comes down to style preference on this first one I'm going to talk about. You guys ever been to Hell with the Lid Off at Kelly's Bar and Lounge?
No.
Are you?
I'm familiar with it. It's the Barley Wine Festival.
Oh, yes.
And it has been on my radar for a couple years, and unfortunately the dates just haven't worked out for me, but it's on the short list of ones to get to because I love barley wines, and I've heard that's amazing.
It's such a good time. It's the only festival of its kind in America. Nobody has the collection of barley wines that these guys have, and they have barley wines going back to early 2000s.
Wow.
It may be even more. I usually every year I hook up with Caleb down there to help promote the event, and then I go down and do some promotions in-house while people are there chilling and going through the numerous flights that they have. Like, they'll do vertical flights for several different breweries, and then they've got some newer breweries that have fresher stuff, and they have a little room out back where it's usually a little colder, but it doesn't matter because you're drinking 13, 14% barley wines and warming your blood.
Who gives a shit at that point?
But in regards to uniqueness, I mean, you're never going to find that collection of beer anywhere else. And I highly recommend that event. There's some people that hate that. So like, I have a couple of friends that just absolutely hate the barley wine style, so it's not for them.
Right.
Personally, I wasn't into the style until the first time I went to it. And I talked to people there like, okay, help me with this style, help me understand it. And that got me into it a little bit more. And once you get that knowledge, you can appreciate it a little more. And that's really how I've come to know that event is such a great time, and I recommend it to everybody.
So when is that event?
March 24th. March 24th. So.
Oh, March 24th. So there's still time.
Yeah,
Are there tickets left?
Still tickets
That
left.
might work out for you as well.
Yeah. 2 sessions available, 1 to 4 and 5 to 8. I once tried to do both. That doesn't work.
I don't even know if I could get through 13 to 14% beers. I feel like I'd be blacked out about 2 hours in.
Well, I'll tell you, I guess we can full disclosure on fun stories drinking barley wine. We went through the first session, then went to Mad Mex, and Pete Finney of Wiggle, who I'm good friends with, starts buying shots of Jameson. I'm like, why are we doing this to
Oh my
ourselves?
God,
We've just
after
been
a
drinking
barley wine
Oh, yeah.
festival.
Well, then we went back to the barley wine festival. That's why I said I got till 5 o'clock. I was like, I got to go. So
That's the gauntlet.
So my girlfriend came and picked me up, and she found me leaning on the bike rack in front of Mad Max because I had wandered back there, and it was bad. But it was good. It was a good time.
It was bad, but good. Yeah.
So the adult warning would be: take it easy. You don't have to go nuts, and keep the shots of Jameson on the back burner for the next day. Maybe as a hair of the dog.
Hair of the dog.
Whatever. Don't try this at home.
And take an Uber.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Do not operate machinery, drive cars, anything like that. I could barely operate my cell phone after that experience. But no, I mean, if you've ever been curious about that style of beer, that is the place to go. Beers of the Berg is another one. I know their tickets are going on sale here in a few weeks. That's probably the best showcase of local beer in Pittsburgh, bar none.
And I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I think
we've been to that a handful of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think now that I've been to Brutal, Brutal is now my favorite.
Brutal's awesome.
Yeah. But Birds of the Berg would be my second on that
Yeah,
list.
and I mean, you talk about unique events. Megan James and their whole crew have done.
They killed it with that one. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
the collaboration beers alone are
Yeah.
enough that I think if you're not into that genre of music, you can still go and enjoy the event and try some beers you're never going to have anywhere else,
Right.
and walk away with a good experience.
Which, like the Barley Wine Fest and even Goodwood in at the East End Brewery, that speaks to the uniqueness of some of the events that we're getting in Pittsburgh.
That's another one too, and yeah,
That's my favorite event.
I love. Were you guys at Goodwood this year?
I was, yeah.
I was there too. I must have missed you guys.
I wasn't there.
We were selling tickets.
Were you there? I wasn't there.
Okay.
I was gonna say I went with some other friends.
Yeah, that's a great one too. And I love barrel aged beer, so that one I always look forward to. That January is just an awesome time with Nugget Nectar release. Hop Slam's coming in a couple weeks after. You got Goodwood Festival. It's just a great time to be alive.
Can't beat it. It's interesting you brought up Brutal, and this really isn't a Pittsburgh thing, but I want to mention it anyhow because I think it's awesome, is that NoFX is bringing their Pumpkin Drublick tour
Pumpkin Drublick is coming
to
to
Pittsburgh. There's only 6 dates this year, and Pittsburgh is one of them. It's down at the Highmark Stadium where the Riverhounds play. And what's cool about that, it's like local California beers that you can't buy out here that they're bringing with them. So
That's cool.
Yeah, so they bring the beer. It's like a concert and beer fest. So they bring the beer with them from California, and you get to have a lot of breweries that you wouldn't normally find out here just by going to that beer fest. So it's not local. It has nothing to do with Pittsburgh, but it's going to be in Pittsburgh, and it'll be beers that you can't get
Well,
here.
I mean, it's in Pittsburgh, so it's still worth mentioning.
Yeah, we'll count
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah, that's the thing. Beer doesn't have to be born here to be awesome.
True.
I mean, it's
Very
proven.
true.
I mean, we have a tremendous base of great breweries here now, but there's a lot of stuff being distributed around Pittsburgh that's phenomenal as well. So we don't want to forget those guys either.
Right, because there's a lot of great restaurants and bars that specialize in beers that they bring a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily local, which we're great to go to as well.
You thinking about the sharp edge, ain't you?
I don't know what you're talking about. But yes.
So, if you've ever been out on the interwebs, one thing you may have found or stumbled upon, I guess I should say, is the website Breaking Brews, which is the site that Jason started up. So,
Yes.
so why don't you tell us a little bit about Breaking Brews, how you started it, and what people can find when they visit that website?
Well, that it's a good story. I always love telling it. I was at Beerhead. It used to be called Beer Market. And
Oh, yeah.
I was there before a pirate game. That's usually my stop before any pirate game. Because, I mean, the
As
beer,
it should
Why
be.
yeah, right. You're right next door, and the beer lineup is awesome. So I usually try to get in there for at least one beer before any game. And you got to get yourself lubed up a little before you go to a pirate game.
Oh, yeah, especially
this year.
Yeah, enjoy a good product before you go watch a really shitty product. So anyway, I was sitting there. I was waiting for my girlfriend to meet me, and just minding my own business. And as it normally does before a pirate game, it started to get crowded, and people started filtering in. And this guy came up to the bar, and he's like, "Oh, the Bud Light. They don't sell Bud Light there." And they politely told him, "We don't sell Bud Light. If you'd like that, you have to go next door." Mm-hmm. What? Well, I want a Miller Lite. And they're like, "Well, we don't sell that either, sir, but if you want it, you can go next door." He's like, "What the hell is wrong with you guys?" They're like, "We serve good beer here." He's like, "Ugh." So finally, after some back and forth, he goes, "I'll have a Yingling." They go, "We have that." So as they're getting it, he just looks at me and he goes, "How the hell does this place think it's going to survive without Miller Lite and Bud Light?" And I looked down, I'm like, "Have you looked around to yourself yet?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "This place is packed and they don't serve food. I think they're doing okay with their beer."
It'll be all right.
And he's like, "Well, whatever, man." And he got his Yingling and he walked off, and it got my gears grinding about, well, there are probably a lot of people out there that think like this guy. Mm-hmm. And it's not, it's nobody's fault. There's not really a lot of accessible information. I mean, you really have to dig hard, but one thing I'd always noticed about things I found is like beer reviews seemed somewhat pretentious. Like there was a lot of like things that you can't necessarily as a novice gravitate towards. Mm. So I started thinking maybe, I had run some blogs in the past. I did a fantasy football blog, a social media blog, another full sports blog. I had some experience getting sites like that off the ground. I was like, well, maybe beer would be something I could stay passionate about, because that's what those other blogs I would get bored. Mm-hmm. Beer is like, Chris, I've been drinking beer since I was 16. There's no way I'm going to get bored with this. And plus, everything was continuing to grow. I was like, this would be a nice time to come in with something different. So I told my girlfriend when she got there, I was like, I'm thinking about this. How does this sound? And she's like, actually, it sounds cool. You do it the right way. So I took about 4 or 5 months to cultivate an idea and determine the direction of the content, because I didn't want to be a beer review site. That was the last thing I wanted to put out there. I wanted it to be more approachable, have some information that people could learn, and then also discover more about what was happening in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And the initial posts were very along that line of just like promoting and advocating for the craft beer scene and helping people understand that this is a product that's not mass produced. It's very, a lot of TLC goes into this. These brewers are working hard. They're using natural ingredients. This is a way different product than you're used to. And they're doing it by very, very low scale means at this point, and they're hoping to grow. But ultimately, this is a culture that's starting to move forward. And it picked up very quickly. And what's ironic, the post that put it on the map about a month in, I hate lists. Like, I'm not 9 this, 10 this. It's just not my thing. But I did a list of craft beer destinations in Pittsburgh, and that took it up. Everybody, that went viral in a couple days, and that put the site on the map. And
you just kept going from there.
Yeah, so I did a few more lists over the years. Podcast listeners can't see me roll my eyes, but I try to avoid that now. But it really took on a life of its own, because now I do some different features. Like at first I was big on hooking up with a different venue each month and doing a feature about their business. And now I'm not so structured with that. I try to do a little bit different in regards to how I'm connecting with businesses, and it's just ultimately just trying to find something that people are going to dig. And so I'm always about doing things differently. Like, I don't like to just do the same run-of-the-mill type of content that you see everywhere on the internet every day. Mm-hmm. I want the features to actually have some heart to it and some emotion and capture the passion that the people I'm talking to have. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in addition, I like to keep people informed about what's going on. So it evolved into what I've now just put back under one flag. If you guys may have heard of the Pittsburgh Craft Beer Network, which was that had evolved. That's what that stemmed from Breaking Brews, and then it got to a point where I had too much shit out there. I had to rein it back in, so I just pulled it back under the Breaking Brews flag. But that was that did its part too. Like, I had a mobile app that put events out there for people to find. It was basically a one-stop resource for you to find events and information and things that you would want to do in Pittsburgh regarding beer. And now it's, also covering spirits and wine and things like that. And now I just looped it under the Breaking Brews blog, and you can get everything from there that you got on the app, and the site's mobile friendly. And that is a very long-winded version of Breaking Brews, but now you guys are all caught up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, for the listeners out there, especially the local ones here in Pittsburgh, I mean, www.breakingbrews.com. I mean, check it out for yourself. And, that's a great way to find, local events and information about some of our, local breweries and the great craft beer scene we have here in Pittsburgh. And it's all thanks to Jason and a special thanks, I guess, to that gentleman who was looking for the Bud Light.
I did set out at the beginning. I was like, I owe you a thank you wherever you are. But honestly, I mean, I do appreciate you saying that, but it's not because of me. It's because of all of the great breweries and distributors, wholesalers. Like, that's where I know I wouldn't be here if it weren't for what these guys do. And I make sure I tell them that. Like, I'm not, I exist because of you. You don't exist because of me. Like, that's just, I don't know. That's just my take on it. It's always been like, I'll stay over here on the outer fringe and talk very positively about you guys, but you're the ones in the trenches making great beer for us to drink and getting great products for us to consume, so.
Great point.
Before we cut off, I should say, when we kicked off here, I said I hadn't been on a good beer podcast in a while, and I feel like I'd be doing my buddy Jaron Barton a horrible disservice because I was on his show last month, and I love his show. And when I was thinking, I was like, shit, I really buried him. So I'm plugging.
He's still listening to this
I'm
episode.
plugging for the Craft Beer Industry Podcast. Everybody listen to that show as well.
So speaking of fantastic craft beers here in Pittsburgh, the Grist House double-edged sword that we've been sipping on here.
You're calling it fantastic, are you?
I have to.
Jason seems to be signaling he needs some more.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm
Do it.
gonna
Make it happen.
Let me have another few sips just to make sure it's good.
Yeah, because these are the final thoughts,
Yeah.
Jason. We want to make sure that you've
Quality
experienced the
control.
full
Fresh in your
flavor
mind.
and body of this beer.
Wait for it. Yep, still good. Still good.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I still got a couple sips left, and I'm going to savor them in my glass here. But I'm just, we gushed all over Grist House when we were, there with Kyle and Sean and talking about their beer. But I'm so impressed every day with what they're doing. Yeah. And now that they've got their own canning line, they're going to be canning a lot more and in larger quantities. So, we're going to start to be, the Grist House canned beer is going to be more readily available. So hopefully we even start seeing that outside of the brewery itself.
There's a lot of room for a brewery to make a huge splash in that respect. A more aggressive canning line to where you're getting into the Giant Eagles of the world or into the very big, there's a big market for that. They're on track to do that. God bless them.
Yeah, I think
out there.
I think the farthest so far I've seen is they had Fire in the Hill at 99 bottles.
I think
I saw that.
Furthest I've seen.
I've seen that reach out, so they're reaching out. But I definitely would love to see a lot more of their beers, including this one, because I am a big fan of this as a double IPA. It's not harsh in any way. It's a very nice tropical drinker. I would definitely be enjoying this summertime.
I'm enjoying this anytime. It's so good. I mean, Grist House is one of my absolute favorites in Pittsburgh. The guys there are great. All the beer's fantastic. This one is no exception, and I'm just so happy drinking this right now.
Can we go 4 for 4? I drank it a little bit more after it warmed up a little bit, and the fruit notes kind of came out a little bit more. The harshness kind of went away a little bit. I'm good with this beer.
Okay.
I'm good with this beer. Would I gush all over it the way Sam is right now? No. But, I mean, that's pretty much to be expected. This is right in Sam's wheelhouse, and it's not in my wheelhouse. But for the beer and for the style, no, it's pretty good.
Cool.
That's excellent, Adam. I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm very glad.
Is he potentially conforming? Is this the slow transition?
It's a running thread through the show where we bring IPAs on, and sometimes he likes some, and sometimes he doesn't. Right. I think he's up to like a list of 5 where he actually likes them.
Which is progress, because I started with 3.
Okay.
So progress is being made.
That's okay. I mean, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying.
Well, no, it's a fun game to try to transform him into an IPA drinker.
Yeah. Right now, he's warming my soul.
The other game is to make me appreciate sours and Berliner Weisses.
See, that's where I don't hate those styles. They're just not in my wheelhouse. I just don't seek them out typically ever.
I don't like them.
All right, so that's Pittsburgh beer numero uno from Grist House. We'll be right back with another beer and more from Jason Cercone. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
check this out. There's a Seattle company called Devore that enables discovery of new and exciting beers and breweries. Devore gets the best independent beer from literally around the world. Denmark, New Zealand, Belgium, and of course everywhere in the US. The app is incredibly simple to use to get some ridiculously good beers delivered right to your door.
Welcome back to the podcast, Hop Nation. We are here with Jason Cercone, and we are ready to drink some more Pittsburgh beer. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam, and he's going to introduce our next local flavor that we are going to be drinking.
So for segment 2, we are going on an adventure. We're going hitchhiking. So we are getting a beer, the Cococcino from Hitchhiker Brewing Company. They actually have 2 locations in Pittsburgh now. They have one in Sharpsburg, and they have the original in Mount Lebanon. So this is a porter with coconut, coffee, milk sugar, cocoa nibs, and vanilla beans. I am actually looking forward to this one above and beyond all the other ones for one very important reason.
It's not an IPA.
It's not an IPA. It's still porter weather. Let's be honest. I don't care if it was 60 degrees earlier in the week. It's still porter weather.
Well, I mean, depending on when you're listening to this, I'm pretty sure snow's on the way.
Well, then it's still
Yeah, it's still porter weather, so snow's still on the way.
Snow is always on the way.
That's the joke.
Oh.
Quick on the
Welcome
update.
to the show.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here. I'm Sam. Haven't been on the show for a while. I'm ready to drink some beer.
Good. So now that you're paying attention again, it does have coffee in it, so you'll park right back up as well.
Excellent, excellent.
So, ABV 6.8. IBUs? No idea.
I'm thinking a lot of Pittsburgh breweries seem to be hiding their IBUs.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
No, not with a porter, no.
It's a coconut porter.
Yeah.
Now I have to say, while Adam is pouring us these fine beverages, I for one have been really impressed with Hitchhiker as of late. Ever since they opened their location in Sharpsburg, they have really been hitting their stride, and they have come out with some really unique creations as of late. And now they're canning and have a couple new releases usually every week. And I just have to say, I have to give them a shout out. I mean, I've been very impressed with them as of late.
I'm definitely going to agree with you on that one. I think for me it started at Brewing Up a Cure, where they started introducing the Myrcene, the double IPA. I was a big fan of that one. And then they had another one there, I can't quite remember. It was a bit of a weird sour, I believe, which is why it's not on my radar completely. But
I know this. I can't think of the name.
it was like a more berry sour, I believe. But it was a pretty decent, and it was definitely out of the wheelhouse from what I was used to at Hitchhiker. The only thing I've missed was the marshmallow. That Count Chocula stout.
Oh, that one was amazing.
I didn't get it.
Badass, yeah.
Oh,
That
it
was
was
real
so
good.
good. I really hope they bring that back someday. That
Yeah.
beer was excellent. Made with Count Chocula cereal, marshmallow stout.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It was glorious. You know, that was actually the tipping point for me when I really got back into Hitchhiker, because at first when they opened I wasn't a huge fan of the beers, but I had that and my god. We should probably talk about the beer that's
Yeah, we should probably talk about the one
the
that's going on.
Cococcino.
We can stop blowing them on everything else and actually talk about the one we have.
I'm going to let you stick your nose in that one first.
That's
So-
dark.
Yeah, definitely dark. It's got a little red tinge if you bend it just right against the light, but
Yeah, I caught that too.
on the nose, I get coffee.
A lot of coffee on the nose.
I'm getting coffee and chocolate. The chocolate-covered coffee beans. That's what I'm getting on this one.
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of
vanilla
chocolate.
beans. Definitely I'm getting a little like cacao nibs.
If the taste is anything like the smell, this beer's going to be fantastic.
I mean, that really smells like just a cup of iced coffee. That is a glorious, glorious smell. Love the nose.
That's where I'm going with the taste too. Like overall
Oh,
flavor.
this is fantastic.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Like I'm not a coffee fan. Like on its own, I never drink it. But in beer, I can appreciate it tenfold. I don't know what that dynamic is, but I love a good coffee beer.
It's not something I haven't heard before, though.
Right,
Yeah.
I was just about to say, you're not the first person I've heard, actually within the last week, saying the same exact
Really?
thing. They're not coffee people, but for some reason in beer, it just works.
Yeah. And this one works as well.
This is fantastic.
Again, we've been talking about how the differences between stouts and porters, and this one is a little thinner.
Yep.
As compared to like what stouts are, which kind of surprised me because it does say it has milk sugar. I was expecting it to be a little more creamy,
thick, yeah.
yeah. But this is super good.
Yeah.
It's just like a cold brew coffee, like Sam and Jason just said.
Yep.
I'm gonna let that one warm. Like I didn't do that with the IPA because I don't do that with. I just want to drink the IPA. So I'm gonna let that one mellow out and see what happens.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get some more flavor out of it as it continues to warm up. But
The problem is it's going to be really difficult to let it sit there.
It's good now, but it can be better. Let it get better.
it'd be better.
Let it do its thing.
Well, yeah, great mishmash of flavors here with the coconut and the coffee and the vanilla bean, and it's so balanced, running over your palate and your tongue, and it finishes really smooth.
That was poetic.
Oh, thank
That was
you.
nice.
I appreciate it. Now I've had some coffee in me. I got some coffee in me, and I'm awake.
Perked right up.
He's got his words back.
Yes. All right, so as poetic as that was, Adam, I think I'm going to just stop talking now and turn it over to Jason again, because there's a question that everybody is asking right now in Pittsburgh, and I know the three of us can't answer it, but hopefully Jason will be able to, shed some light on this situation.
We've got the guy.
We have the guy, and the question is, what the hell is this Pittsburgh Libations Week that everyone has been talking about?
I think it's great that everybody's talking about it. This is fantastic.
I've heard people talking about it, and I'm excited about it because I don't know much about it myself.
What it is, it's a new concept that, here's how I looked at it. We have an incredible beer scene here in Pittsburgh, but we also have an incredible whiskey scene, and there's a lot of history with whiskey here in Pittsburgh. We have a lot of wineries here. We've got a distillery in Maggie's Farm that's winning international awards. We've got a mead house that's won national awards in Kingview Mead, and there's a lot happening here on a grand scale for adult beverages. And I felt that the time was now to bring something to life that could help us promote and celebrate that entire scene. So beer, whiskey, cider, mead, kombucha, moonshine, vodka, you name it. We're trying to find a good platform and building a good platform to celebrate all of this. And from that idea, Pittsburgh Libations Week was born. And we are building a year-round entity. It's managed by a platform that I set up called Drink Forward. That's going to be more of a event management platform, event promotion platform. It's going to, hopefully down the road as this whole idea develops, I would like to have it be part of other weeks or festivals or events just from the planning side of it, because what we've built so far and the people that we've worked with for our events, they've told us, like, you guys are very organized, like, you have your shit together, and that's a peeve of mine. I feel that reflects on a consumer. If you paid money to come to an event that we're putting on and you have a bad time, that makes me feel terrible. Right. And I can't, are you going to please everybody 100% all the time? No, but we can do our best to put our best foot forward and put the best events out there for people. So we're looking at being around year round. And the way we look at it, myself and the 9 others that are comprising our a founding board of directors, these businesses operate year round too. They're brewing beer and selling whiskey, and bars and restaurants are welcoming customers daily. We felt we need to be here for them year round. We can't just come out for 9 or 10 days and say, here's what we're doing, and then vanish. We want to have a strong presence. So we're building it on education. As we mentioned in the first segment, that's a big thing that I started with Breaking Brews, and this is the same thing. We're looking to hold a lot of very informative events during Libations Week, and then throughout the rest of the year, since we're planning on being here year-round and working with these businesses year-round, we can help expose what they're doing year-round. So if they're doing tap takeovers or beer dinners or wine dinners or whatever they're holding, we can help be a part of that and promote it. So right now we're approaching a year almost of planning.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's funny, when I rolled the idea out, it was 18 months before when the actual week was going to happen, and people were like, get back to us when it gets a little closer. Yeah. But I looked at it, I was like, if nothing else, I can say that we were being diligent with our time. Mm-hmm. Because now I look at it and we're 8 months away, and it's like, holy crap, where'd that 9 months go? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that gets lost in planning events and extravaganzas like this, is the time that goes into it, and it can fly by. Mm-hmm. But it's been very rewarding. We've got a great charity partner or a nonprofit called Lending Hearts, and they raise awareness and funds for pediatric cancer, and partial proceeds from all sponsorships and revenue generated from our events goes directly to them.
Oh, wow.
So we're giving back to the community at the same time as we're raising awareness and helping people understand more about these adult beverages that are circulating throughout Pittsburgh. So I love what we're doing so far, and I think people are going to be blown away by what we do come October.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So when are the dates? When can we expect the first Pittsburgh Libations Week to happen?
The first Libations Week kicks off October 12th, and it's a Friday night, and we're going to have a big kickoff extravaganza. We will be announcing very soon, probably, let's say mid-March, where that is going to be taking place. But the idea with that is we're going to get libations of all shapes and sizes under one roof. So it won't just be beer. It's going to be wine. It's going to be whiskey. It's going to be mead. It's going to be cider. And we're going to have a band, and we're going to have food trucks, and we're going to really blow it up and do it, have a grand event. But we want to find, that was the best way we could figure to encapsulate the whole scene and get it all under one roof. And you know what? If you got one person loves beer, and the other person loves wine, and the other one loves whiskey, but you hate the other, you hate beer, whatever. You don't have an excuse to not come now. Come and hang out with us. So
Absolutely not.
And then the first weekend is going to be designed, structured neighborhood block parties throughout all of Pittsburgh. Because the one thing I hear, and I'm sure everybody hears it, well, you're in the South Hills and I'm in the North. I'd have to cross a bridge. And it's like,
You would.
if I had a dime for every time I heard that, I'd have an ass load of dimes. So we are going to cut that excuse out of the equation too. We want people to, if they want to travel, say we're having a big block party in Lawrenceville and they like the events that the places down there are having, you can go down to Lawrenceville. Or if you live in Monroeville, well, you don't have to travel. You can go to something that's happening in Monroeville. It's by far, at least the way I look at it, the most aggressive approach to planning events in this capacity, because we're going to have to coordinate the shit out of this.
I can see why it would take 18 months to plan something like this.
But that's
a lot of work.
And that's how
it just come together.
And that's, I got feedback from other businesses, and what they were telling me is when you try to pile 300 events into 1 week, you're cannibalizing everybody's efforts because as a consumer, you've got to try to choose 1 out of 50.
Right.
What am I going to do today?
Right.
Well, I can only do 1 or maybe 2. Like, you can't do everything. And even with this, you can't do everything, but you can choose where you go. And you can't use the excuse of, well, it's on the other side of town.
Yeah.
We're going to try to bring it to your neighborhood. Now, obviously, we can't cover every single neighborhood in Pittsburgh, but we're going to try to, we're going to literally pull out a map and look at neighborhoods where it would be good to have parties. Like Lawrenceville, we can organize events at the breweries and distilleries, and there's just so much going on in that area.
Yeah.
So
Dormont, sorry, that's on my throat.
it's on the map. You can I can guarantee you 4: 1 in the east, 1 in the south, 1 in the west, 1 in the north. That'll happen. So,
all right,
and we'll expand from there. But we're really excited to roll something like that out. I think it's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think
and a lot of fun.
That sounds really great. One of the things that you see in kind of the beer events nowadays is that Apis will show up, or Arsenal will show up, but they're not necessarily advertised and they're not necessarily the main attraction. So like now that there's an event that just says, hey, everybody's descending on this one.
It's a no excuses event.
Yeah. And they deserve just as much notoriety as the beer.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
They're all, and with PA law changes over the past couple of years, you're now seeing these businesses work together anyway. Now, you go to a brewery, and they've usually got Apis Mead or Kingview Mead or Arsenal Cider on because they want to give alternatives to the non-beer drinkers.
Yep.
And they've got whiskey. And then you go to a Wiggle Whiskey tasting room, and they've got beer on tap from local breweries. And that's one of the beautiful things about those law changes is now all of these great places can offer options. So again, another reason to celebrate the whole city. Right?
So what about some of our local wineries? Are they invited to the party too, or are we leaving them out?
No, I said wineries.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. See, if we had to go around the table of what we would drink not beer-wise, he would be a wine.
No doubt about it.
I'm at Wiggle Whiskey. I love some of their stuff they're putting out, especially some of like their non-whiskey things. I had their absinthe.
Their absinthe is incredible.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
124 proof,
Don't
baby.
stereotype me as a wine number 2 guy. I'm bourbon second. I'd go.
You drink way more wine than I drink.
Yeah.
And then I drink way more bourbon than you drink.
Oh man, controversy.
I know, right?
This is
Right?
good.
And I mean,
Adam can pick whatever
one
he
glass
wants.
a year is more wine than you drink.
I know, exactly.
It's not hard.
Exactly.
Good for the antioxidants. Even if you,
Good wine is good. Pittsburgh Winery has some amazing wines.
Oh yeah,
Very
absolutely.
You know, I'm gonna pick up the cider flag.
Okay.
I'm gonna tote that flag.
Okay.
good. Taking Threadbare.
You could take the meat flag if you want to.
You know what? I'll take them all.
Okay.
What do I get?
You're the guy. You get them all.
you started Libations Week, so you must like it all.
No, I do. The bourbon is, probably my next choice after beer is usually whiskey and bourbon. But yeah, I really don't discriminate. Like, I love all adult beverages, and ultimately, like, my biggest thing about all of this is more than the liquid. It's the experiences that they create. Because you think of on a grand scale, and I'm going to get super philosophical and mushy here, Hallmark card like, but a lot of experiences and a lot of memories and relationships are formed over adult beverages. Think of how many deals you may have made over a beer or two.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend, we owe our relationship to Great Lakes Chillwave and Great Lakes Lake Erie Monster. And we're happy to tell that story. Those are fun stories to let everybody know about. So, yeah, I've always looked at how experiences can come from the liquid, and I think that's going to be one of the foundations here, too, is we're looking to build events that people can remember and say, wow, that was a great time. We want to do that again. Our bowling tournament that we did with the Big Lebowski theme.
Yeah, I saw that on
February.
Facebook.
Yeah, I saw it.
It was freaking awesome. Like, people were loving it. Like, they're like, when are you going to do this again? And I was like, we're going to do it next year, but we're going to do a Kingpin theme. Like, again, like, I want to shake it up. So because some people were like, oh, you could do this quarterly. I'm like, yeah, but then it would suck.
Yeah.
Because it's not unique if you bastardize the idea.
Right, exactly.
So,
Excellent. So if someone wanted to get involved, because you're still, what did we say, like 6, 7, 8 months out now? Yeah, because it's October. So I guess that would...
The math checks.
The math does check. So you're about 8 months out. If somebody were to want to get involved, and whether that be from a sponsorship perspective or just, hey, I want to help you out with this, how would they do that? And is that a possibility?
absolutely. We are currently in a big push for sponsorships, and the sponsorship packages that we are building are year-round. It's not just for the 9-day period, because we're looking to do partnerships that last throughout the year and work with businesses to promote what they do year-round. So if anybody is interested in talking to us more about that, you can jump on our website and all the information's there. You can shoot us an email at pghlibationsweek.com. I'm not going to get my phone number out on the air, but it is on the website, which is pretty much the same thing anyway. If you go to the website, you're going to find it. If you're an enthusiast out there that wants to be involved from a volunteer's perspective, I know for our kickoff event, we're going to be putting together a pretty substantially sized team, because the venue that we are looking at, and we're pretty close to saying, yes, this is where it's going to be. It's going to require a good amount of people at different entrances to check people in with tickets and to make sure people aren't sneaking booze in and stuff like that. So it's like, why would you do that anyway? You get so much that you've already paid for. Why would you do it? But you never know. But nevertheless, yeah, we're happy to talk to anybody, and I'll extend the invite to you guys now. I would do it more officially at some point in time, but we're going to have a big media bash a month before the event, or before the first event. So we're going to have everybody out from a podcast, news, blogs, you name it. We want to have the people in the house doing some shows on the spot. It doesn't have to be your normal lengthy format unless you want to, but ultimately we want to just be able to have as many voices out there to learn about what we're doing and promote it. So yeah, that's going to be in early September. So we'll have information about that probably in the next couple months, because again, Instagram influencers, anybody that can help spread the word, we want them in the house.
Have laptop, will travel.
Yes, sir.
That's right. And just think, we could just sit there and we could drink all different kinds of libations on our show.
no, that's
We'll
the
run the
worst.
gauntlet: beer, wine, whiskey, absinthe, cider, mead. We'll try them all for you, Jason. It's no problem.
I appreciate that, guys. I know we're doing God's work here, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel my arm's been twisted.
Yeah. Did we have to set up some sort of bracket?
We got a while to figure that out, but we can.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad
We got a
idea.
couple months. Diverting a little bit from Pittsburgh Libations Week, you have another podcast now. Mm-hmm. You're running it with your co-board member.
Yeah, Angelica.
Angelica.
Yeah, it's my girlfriend. So
okay.
Yeah, full disclosure.
All right. Well,
nothing to hide here.
So co-board member on Pittsburgh Libations Week, girlfriend.
The girl.
The girl.
She'll love that.
But you run a new marketing podcast
Yes.
together called Decent Exposure. What kind of brought you about to doing that?
Really, the whole idea behind that was she does marketing for a living. She works with several clients independently, much like I do. So we were constantly bouncing ideas off of one another, just, how would you handle this, or what would you say here, and so on and so forth. And she's doing another podcast of her own called Fridays in Pittsburgh, where she goes around and meets with different Pittsburgh personalities and buys them a plate of fries at a certain venue. And they sit and talk about what they do, and they eat French fries. It's a pretty cool concept.
Right on.
Yeah, that's great.
So she does that, and then I was doing the Breaking Brews podcast, which will be soon transforming into the Breaking Brews Experience, which is going to be a video series versus a recorded podcast, such as what everybody's listening to right now. Since we were sharing all these ideas, we were just like, why don't we record this? Because it would make good content for both of our respective websites. And the idea was, let's just give some information away for free and really showcase what we know and what we do for a customer. And it's given us an opportunity to talk about marketing a little bit deeper, because we've researched our topics to make sure that we know what we're talking about. But
Novel concept.
yeah, right. But our shows are usually half an hour or less. We actually just released our first show with a guest, and we're gonna start doing that too. So we're gonna start alternating, like a show where it's more just back and forth between Angelica and I, and then we'll have a guest on the show. And so we've reached out to some personalities in Pittsburgh, and it's not just about marketing. Like, you don't have to be in marketing, but in your business, you may do something to promote it and expose it. So we would like to have you on the show just to talk about what you do in that capacity. So that was really where it all came from. We just felt that, since we are talking about it anyway, we might as well turn some mics on and put something valuable out there. And
I wonder, that sounds something like our origin story.
I think a lot of podcasts were born in that same way. Like, why are we recording this shit?
Yeah, exactly.
We spent all this time arguing and agreeing and discussing.
And drinking.
Why not just do it for a hobby? That's very cool. So, I've listened to the show. I actually have found some interesting marketing. As a freelancer, I'm always looking for ways to kind of help myself out. So I've listened to your show, and I think it's really helpful for anybody who's trying to get themselves out there in any way.
Thank you.
It's good tips.
Yeah, like our audience that we're reaching out to is more on the small business side, like independent business owners. I think there's, we do that. Like, we're always willing to help out. Like, if somebody hears the show and needs more in-depth help, that's what we're here for. Reach out to us, and we're there to, whether it's consultation or fully taking on these projects that you need assistance with. But we just felt like there's people like you and I out there listening for things that can help. It's more on that DIY level, like just trying to learn without having to go pay for a class. Podcasts are a tremendous resource for that. I think that's pretty much what I listen to in the car all day. If I'm driving around, I've got some podcast on. So that was really where the theme was. Like, let's put something out there that people can hopefully draw some info from and apply to their own business and have a good time with it.
Cool.
Well, that's great, and I haven't listened to that one yet. This is actually the first I'm hearing about it, so but I'm anxious to check it out. It sounds like it's incredibly informative.
I definitely would recommend it to you. I think you would enjoy it as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's not like, we're pretty laid back too. Like, we're two fun people that we don't take ourselves too seriously, so it's not some rigid, boring. We're dropping F-bombs here and there. We're keeping it light, but we're still informing you at the same time. It's a fun learning environment. I learned better that way, so I figured we might as well teach that way too.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, shall we get back to this beer?
Yes.
Now we've had a chance for it to warm up a little bit. Anybody have any final thoughts on the Cococcino by Hitchhiker Brewing Company?
My glasses keep disappearing.
I think you've had two so far.
Yes.
I get more vanilla after it warmed up a little.
I was going to say the same thing. That's exactly what I noticed. The coffee flavor starts to dissipate a little, and I'm tasting more of the vanilla bean and more of the milk sugar, to tell you the truth. It wasn't as creamy at first when it was cold, but I think once it warms up, you're starting to feel that. It
transforms a little bit.
It's transforming, right?
Yeah, I didn't get as much vanilla, but I definitely got that creaminess that you're talking about as well. I did get that.
This is the best beer I've had tonight.
Wow.
It's the second beer you've had
I
tonight.
didn't even see it coming, and the other one was an IPA.
No, this beer is absolutely fantastic. And I love the fact that it kind of transforms a little bit as the temperature changes, and it goes from good to also good. So, yeah, this is high up on my list right now.
Home run.
Yeah,
Home run.
definitely. Check
Excellent.
plus.
Definitely going to be checking out more from Hitchhiker. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they've got a lot, and every week it's something new.
They've been doing can releases, I think, every week.
Every week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get their newsletter. Yeah, so this week they're releasing their Woke, which is their coffee stout with maple syrup and coffee and vanilla, and it looks fantastic. I haven't tried it, but I think the can release is coming out this weekend, so definitely look forward to trying that, especially with some of the stouts they've been putting out recently. They've all been home runs. So
Yeah, it seems like they've been really crushing it with stouts, which
they're-
is
they're-
good news for me.
They're hitting their stride with the stouts. It's great. Alrighty, let's wrap up segment 2 here. So, I guess the homework for the listeners, check out Pittsburgh Libations Week.com. Check out the website, learn a little bit more about that. And also, if you're interested, check out the Decent Exposure podcast from Jason and Angelica. So while you go and check that out, we're going to take a break, refill our glasses, get some more beer, and we'll be back with one more segment with our buddy Jason. So stay tuned, everybody. We are back, Hop Nation. Segment 3 is now underway. We are here with Jason Cercone, and we are ready to drink some more beer. And I am not going to waste any time getting into this beer, because I'm going to introduce it, because it is from a Pittsburgh darling, my favorite brewery in Pittsburgh, and a brewery that's really making some headway up into the Northeast with their just dynamic, delicious juice bomb IPAs, and that is, of course, Dancing Gnome. And we have here today on the show one of the most sought after beers from Dancing Gnome, the Beyond Infinity. This beer comes in at about 8.2% ABV, and it is just loaded with Galaxy, Simcoe, Citra, Denali, and Mosaic hops. And like I said, it is just a giant juice bomb in your mouth. This beer is the creme de la creme, not only of the show, but also of Pittsburgh beer.
Who is this Dancing Gnome to speak of?
Now, Dancing Gnome, for those that don't know, I know you know, I know you're just joking with me, but for those that may not know Dancing Gnome, they are the newer brewery out of Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania, east of the city of Pittsburgh, and they've been there for about a year, but they've really been picking up steam in the IPA categories. That is their primary focus. So we wanted to make sure if we're doing a local Pittsburgh episode that we can definitely have representation here from Dancing Gnome. So once again, we are drinking the Beyond Infinity, and there's going to be some great flavors in here, and I actually looked up kind of what flavors they were projecting to come out of this beer, and along with your citrusy flavors, your tangerine, peach, mango, pineapple, they also threw on the list a winter wreath. So that's a very interesting descriptor, and I'm not exactly sure what that is going to taste like, but I've had this beer before and I'm anxious to have it again, and now I really want to see if I can pick out the winter wreath flavor, because that's just such an interesting way to describe a beer.
Are we talking holly and pine cones?
I don't know. Maybe it's the flavors of the Simcoe hop.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Pop it open.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Whatever. Let's pop this bad boy open and pour. We'll give Adam a nice big pour of that. He's not getting any more. That's all he gets. Unless he really does enjoy it, then he could have some more.
Then what you gonna do?
Well, then he'll give you more.
He can get some more. So.
He'll make you a convert, and that will make him happy.
Oh, wow.
Once again,
That aroma is beautiful.
hazy as hell.
Hazy as hell. Looks a little bit lighter than the Grist House.
A little bit. A
say
little
so.
bit. Not too much, but a little
Yeah.
bit.
There's a lot of nose on that.
Oh yeah, those flavors are seeping out of this taster. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a bit of a tropical party with just a little hint of like pine. Getting a little hint.
Almost like a wreath.
Almost.
Oh, way to bring it back.
This is a beer it smells so good that you really want to sniff it multiple times before diving right in, just because you want to savor that aroma.
Yeah, I'm drinking it.
All right, we can drink it.
Okay, I'm on board.
Sam, what do you think?
I'm speechless.
For once.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's not a common theme here on the show, but I mean, this beer is just awesome. I mean, I love Dancing Gnome. Obviously, as a hophead, they're right in my wheelhouse. But the things that they're doing with their IPAs nowadays is just incredible. I mean, every beer that they have is just. It's the same, yet it's different. They use such a dynamic hop profile in their different beers, and I mean with what they're doing with their can releases and the different marketing that they're doing with their Juicy Brews Festival, and the way they're kind of integrating themselves up into the Northeast with that New England style IPA. It's just very, very exciting to me, and I know that they've just really are roaring loudly here in the Pittsburgh craft beer community.
Yeah, and currently #1 on the USA Today Best New Breweries poll.
Are they really?
They got up to #1
in like a day. Oh yeah,
I voted for them twice, and both times that I did, they were at 2.
Yeah, I don't know when this is airing, but I do know that when I saw today, they were still at #1.
Oh, that is great
as
news.
of February 28th. So, yeah, I don't know how long that goes. I think it's mid-March-ish. I don't know, but
Mid-March, so people will still have time to vote.
Yeah,
by the time
vote
this airs,
often.
yeah, people will still have time to vote. So get out and vote. Rock the vote.
And if you're still listening to this show, vote while you're listening. Get on the USA Today Best New Craft Breweries poll and vote for Dancing Gnome. Get them to #1. And if you haven't tried their beer,
#1.
yeah.
Well, that's true.
Keep
them at #1. And if you haven't gotten down there yet, head to Sharpsburg, PA. Check them out on Saturday mornings.
Saturday
when they do a can
mornings,
release.
yeah.
Huge line. I showed up at 10:30 for this can release. The beer got released about noon, and the line was already 30 or 40 deep.
Yeah.
A couple hundred by noon.
I mean, this was before. I was one of the initial when he first started doing canning, and I knew how good Dancing Gnome was, but I didn't realize that if I showed up at 4:30, I wasn't going to get any cans. Because I've gotten to know Andrew over the time since we did a podcast with him before he opened when they were in that initial building phase, and I just wanted to hook Lustra to my veins.
Oh, Lustra.
And he was back at the brewery, and I came back. I was like, "You're out of cans?" He just starts laughing. He's like, "Yeah." What the hell's wrong with you? I was like, "All right, I'll just go drink it off the tap. I'll be fine." But
yeah, he's a cool dude, Andrew. I like him. What he's done for that brewery, just from a pure brewing standpoint and also a marketing standpoint to establish himself, is just incredible. And only being open a year, it's just. Unlike many of the breweries I've seen in this area, he's really taking off.
Indeed.
So I'll just throw this out to both Sam and Jason, since you guys are the bigger hopheads. And I know, Sam, you've been to Trillium. Well, you've had some Trillium, and you've been to Treehouse.
I've been to Treehouse. Actually, have never had Trillium before.
Oh, okay.
I've wanted to, but you can't buy it anywhere outside of the brewery, and I haven't been able to.
I thought you might have had it on your adventure.
I've been to Treehouse though.
But yeah, you've been. So are you guys comfortable in saying that Dancing Gnome is our analogy to Trillium and Treehouse, the answer to them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you go to Treehouse and it's a similar look and feel. It's very IPA heavy. Line out the door to get cans.
Right.
Has just made such a huge name for themselves all over the craft beer community across the country, but especially in the New England area. Everybody knows them. Everybody wants Treehouse.
Right.
Great beer. Yeah, I mean, the Dancing Gnome is absolutely our Treehouse. I mean, that's kind of what it is. I don't know. What do you think, Jason?
I would agree with that. I mean, there are a few breweries in Pittsburgh that are doing this style very well, so I wouldn't say that it's 100% Dancing Gnome is the only one. I mean, you look at your Brew Gentleman, Grist House, Yellow Bridge out in Delmont.
Yeah,
they're doing some tremendous hazy IPAs, and I think that's a little underrated because they're further away from the city, so they're not getting the same publicity. However, the people that do make that venture have reported nothing but good things, and I know I was out there in late January, and they had just put on Horatio, which is one of I think it's their double. I could be speaking out of turn. I just know it's one of their hazy IPA offerings. Phenomenal. Like, so freaking good. I mean, right on par with what you get at Dancing Gnome. So, I think some breweries have not fully grasped this concept of, like, I mean, it's not necessarily the most conventional, traditional style of beer. So, I mean, in essence, like, you're skipping a couple steps. And at the end, the end game is it's still a really good freaking beer. But some breweries just aren't breaking away from tradition, which is fine. I don't discount the other great IPAs. Like, I still prefer a West Coast style IPA. And again, these are awesome, but that's just my personal preference. But yeah, they are knocking it out of the park. If you can consistently have a line wrapped around your building for every can release, you're doing something right. So hats off to them.
Adam, what do you think about this beer? We've kind of been dominating the conversation. Dare I ask what you think?
We've done a lot of build-up, so...
You totally have, and I think you guys are underselling it just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we had with the Grist House. It's simply not my style. But for the style, for what it is, yeah, it's good. It's good. And if I had to go with an IPA, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, you have to drink an IPA or I will pull the trigger, I'd be willing to drink this.
Okay.
Really going out on a limb?
Yeah, seriously, gun to head to drink Dancing Gnome. I'm sure, there's some...
God.
We're getting a few eye rolls from the Pittsburgh craft beer community on this one.
Upon threat of death.
God. God, it's like beyond infinity. This is a beer that some people only wish they could have gotten because it was gone so quickly. And Adam gets to drink it on this show and just like, oh, gun to my head, I guess I'll drink it.
It's like he got taken to a steakhouse and was given, A5 Wagyu beef. And just like, yeah, it's right.
You guys got chicken nuggets?
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep sipping on it. I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
On it. Don't worry about it.
Continue to enjoy it.
I don't hate the beer.
Well, that's great.
Well, honestly, if you're in that IPA realm,
Right.
me not hating it is a good thing.
It is, yeah. Definitely is. So...
Alrighty, we'll let you keep drinking. I did give you a generous pour, too. So.
You did this to yourself.
Yeah, maybe I did.
I feel like I stabbed you in the heart with that, Sam.
Look, this was my first can release down at Dancing Gnome, but I can guarantee you that it won't be my last. I tell you what, real quick, and then I know we have a game to get into here, but I want to say, one of the really fun things about doing this, I would recommend that everyone gets an opportunity to go down to a can release. Just go down. Even if you're not going to buy the beer, go down and stand in line. Because the people you meet down there are so much fun. People are down there drinking, and they bring growlers full of beer, and they share them. When my buddy Chris and I went down, we got to try some Hoof-Hearted beer, which is out of, I think, Cincinnati or Columbus.
Yeah, it's an
Ohio. That's an Ohio. Yeah.
It's an Ohio one, but you can't buy it around here. We got to try some of that. You really got to just socialize with the craft beer community and interact with them. And, we were there for an hour and a half, so what the hell else are we going to do but talk to people? So everybody's super nice, super friendly, and it was a great all-around experience. And then we got the beer, so it made it even better. But I'd highly recommend, if you haven't been to a can release at Dancing Gnome, check it out. It's a lot of fun to do.
I mean, I'd say that goes with any kind of release.
Right.
Because Adam and I stood in line for both CBS at House of Brews and the Fat Sam out of Insurrection.
Right.
And there's pretty similar experiences. Like, people are just willing to talk. And
everybody's just having a good time because they get something unique.
Yeah. Everybody's excited to have that experience together. So, yeah, any kind of release, go enjoy it.
Yeah. Same team. Same team.
Well, we have a game for our esteemed guest here.
As per usual with every episode of the Hop Nation USA podcast, we like to keep segment 3 a little bit light and fun and just be kind of goofy. So this week we're joined by Jason, and we're going to bring back a segment that we haven't done in a hot minute.
A classic.
But it's called the Pair Down.
The Pair Down.
And this is where we take subjects and we take beers and we try to do a little word association and bring about pairings, if you will. Similar to how you would pair a beer with food, but we're going to do it with something else this week. And if you're following Jason at any way on social media, on Twitter especially, you'll have noticed that, especially down the road of WWE pay-per-views, he may throw a tweet out or two. Or if you listen to the beginning of this episode, he made a Roman Reigns reference. Or if you listen to his previous podcast over a couple of beers, he would end episodes with wrestling references.
Oh, yeah. We were that was where the point we were like, is this a beer podcast anymore or a wrestling podcast? We couldn't figure it out.
Don't worry, we've had those moments on here as well.
Yeah, if you listen to this show at any point, we have some thinly veiled. But I think it's pretty perfect, being that we are technically on the road to WrestleMania.
Indeed, we are.
Some people might not even know that
This
they
is
are.
the 3 months of the year where wrestling's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, come May or come April, whenever. When is it this year? Early April.
Yeah, it's early April.
After that night after Raw, they just check out.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah,
Spring break.
put it on automatic, and we suffer for it.
Automatic till SummerSlam. It gets a little better. So we're going to play the pair down with Jason, and we're going to give him some wrestlers that are, popular now and in previous years, and we're going to see if he can pair them together with some beer styles. So I just want to give you a real easy one right down the middle. He's pretty much synonymous with beer and wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I was supposed to do styles. See, I
embarrassingly
worked on this a little, probably a little too hard.
No. I mean,
I made
whatever
notes.
whatever you have for this.
Actually, I could say when I think of Stone Cold, I'm thinking probably something a little lower on the ABV side, mainly because your session's probably going to be long.
Yeah.
And you're going to be drinking a lot of beer.
Being that he crushes 4 or 5 before he even gets out of the ring.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Well, more of it's on you than in you, usually.
But yeah, I'd put go-to IPA because you're going to be drinking a lot of beer. That's I don't really get into session IPAs that much. Like, just give me what I love, and I'll know when to stop, or it will tell me when to stop, and I just prefer those a little bit more. But yeah, probably something on the lower ABV side to chill with Stone Cold for the day.
Sounds good.
So for those that don't know, who makes the go-to?
Stone.
IPA.
Did I not say Stone? Sorry. Stone go-to
yeah.
IPA. My bad. I was going to go real, the Broken Skull.
Well, yeah, that's the obvious one.
Yeah.
Right. I was kind of hoping you'd either go like the obvious with, obviously Budweiser is what he's
Right.
known for, but he also does his own.
I refuse to give them any sort of credit.
Yeah,
that's fine.
We never give them any props on this show,
Nope.
so don't feel the need to do that.
But he
We
also
got
does have
tired,
his own IPA, which is the Broken Skull Ranch IPA.
Yeah.
He drinks it on his podcast.
So I'll give you a more recent wrestler, AJ Styles, current WWE champ.
For AJ, and again, I didn't go style. I went specific beer.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for AJ, I paired him with Worldwide Stout because he is a wrestler that until now, I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of what he's accomplished in the wrestling world, but he's been a champion around the world.
Yep.
He was huge in Japan and TNA. He was the founding guy. Like, he brought that promotion out of the depths.
Yeah. He made
He's
it
killing
watchable.
it now. He did, yeah. And then Hulk Hogan didn't, and but yeah, and now he's killing it in WWE. And I mean, I think right now for wrestling fans, we've only got a couple years left with him. I think he's been very smart with his money. He's retire and he's had a hell of a career. But yeah, Worldwide Stout for AJ.
Makes a lot of sense. So going along that line, somebody else who has had a pretty lengthy career, probably longer than AJ, longer than anybody else I proposed to you, but Chris Jericho, who's big in Japan right now.
I paired him with East End Gratitude Barley Wine because he keeps getting better with age.
Oh, very nice. Very
Like I
nice.
said, I put way too much work into this game.
Very well thought out answer.
Yeah, I mean, shit, he's almost 50 now, and he's still wrestling.
Is he
like-
really?
And he's having tremendous matches.
Yeah.
Like the one he did with Kenny Omega
Wow.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's still playing in that Fozzy band too.
Yeah.
Still doing that?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm actually somewhat surprised that you
Ageless
knew that,
wonder.
Sam.
All right, who's next on the wrestling list, Esteban?
So the next one is probably, well, he's absolutely the biggest guy physically at this point. He also probably has some of the craziest storylines that maybe, Sam, you should go on YouTube and check out some of the things he's been up to.
If it's who I think it is, you
Yeah.
definitely need to go check it out.
Who's that? Lesnar, Brock Lesnar.
No,
That's
much
small
bigger,
potatoes.
much bigger and scarier than Lesnar at this point. This guy goes by the name the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman.
Okay, I've seen him before.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find something with a grappling hook Because before I cut cable, I did see him pull a terrace down with a grappling hook, which might be the stupidest thing that he has done in a long time.
So then you missed the part where he flipped a semi-truck.
No, I saw that too.
Oh, okay.
So I just flipped a semi-truck. I think that was a tweet I put out during Elimination Chamber. It's like, if he walks out and flips this, I'm canceling my subscription.
What? He flipped a semi on the
It's
show?
believable, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, real believable.
That's already. I mean, he's already flipped an ambulance, and then he's pulled down parts of sets, and
Yeah. Well, my buddy had texted me when he pulled the thing down. He's like, "Yeah, there's just grappling hooks laying around for people to believe."
wearing an equipment
I know you
case.
have to suspend your disbelief for wrestling to some extent, but that was just ridiculous. But I think you'll like the pairing, Nimble Giant.
oh, all right, yeah.
Oh my god! I can't wait till that beer comes back out.
That's
I love
so
that.
good.
I love that pairing because I love that beer. The Nimble Giant is one of the best things Trogue
that was a
Trogue
killer
has.
beer.
Yep.
Yeah, that double IPA is out of this world. Adam, you would hate it.
Hate it.
So if you ever come across it and it ends
just
up in
buy
your
it
house,
for
give
you.
it to me.
Bring it over to our
When that
place.
comes out, I am getting a case.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal beer.
Great pairing.
Love it.
Yeah, definitely a good pairing, considering he's a guy he's bigger than me at 6'8", 380 pounds, and he throws drop kicks.
Yeah, that's why I said that's the perfect
Yeah.
pairing. But let me ask you that now that they're beating to death, get these hands.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's humanizing him and taking a bit of that monster
I think so.
aura?
Yeah.
I don't like it. I hate it.
Nah,
I don't mind him having a little mic time.
Right.
But I don't like that every time he touches somebody, they're going to get these hands.
Yeah,
Shut up.
No. That's
Shut up.
Giving him
Let him destroy people.
Giving him a theme or a catchphrase
Yes.
other than just screaming at the top of his lungs is not great.
No.
Let's go back to something a little classic. And let's go with the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah.
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop raised to the top.
Another 360. Macho Man's one of my all-time favorites, and what wrestling fan could say I hated the Macho Man?
Right.
Can't do it.
Nobody
Can't do
can.
it.
Nothing for the business or anything like that. And what's funny, ironically, my favorite version was his WCW 2000 run, where he had Gorgeous George and he had like the ponytail and he was all jacked up.
Yeah.
Like ridiculously jacked up
was
for Macho Man.
huge, yeah.
Yeah, like that was my favorite version of him. I thought it was great, but nevertheless, I paired him with Pliny the Elder because for years recognized as one of the best.
That makes sense.
I like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Man.
makes sense.
That's a great beer too. When my wife and I were in San Francisco, we hunted that one down and found it, and it was so good.
It's one of those beers. I never had it in its prime, and what I mean by that is now I feel like the second I had it, I instantly got done and said I actually prefer Nimble Giant to this and Grist House Master of the Galaxy, which I don't think they brew anymore. That was when they were relatively new.
Yeah.
It was one of their first double IPAs. It was freaking awesome. And I could be wrong. That could still pop up from time to time.
I haven't seen it in
But
a
that's
while.
the thing. Like Pliny was, one of the. It still is one of the best beers. But there's so many good beers to go along with it, or to run alongside it now that it's not the same. But yeah, don't get me wrong. Great beer. So
All right, well, I think we'll move on to our very last one, and it's kind of fitting because he is a local boy. Currently on Raw, there is a heel, goes by the name of Elias. Do you remember Jeff Jarrett at all, Sam? Mm-hmm. Very similar. He comes out, plays his guitar, and
not at all.
well, I mean,
Similar.
I've seen Elias before.
Elias
He plays
is
songs in the ring.
Well, that's like of the Jeff Jarrett character development
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the years. But that original Double J.
yeah.
Way better than.
Oh, he's
Double
way
J.
better. I'm just trying to give Sam a reference. I
Okay.
don't know.
Oh, I
I don't,
gotcha.
I don't know if
Okay.
Sam has seen Elias or not.
Gotcha.
I've seen him.
Okay.
I had Raw on one day randomly when I was traveling for work, just while I was sitting in my hotel room, and he was in the ring playing a song.
Yeah.
That's what all the closet
So-
fans that still watch wrestling say.
Yeah. I was, it just happened to be on.
For 3 hours.
Yeah. But, okay, so yeah, you know Elias, and you know his gimmick, and he comes to the ring and plays his guitar, and he plays it really damn well.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's actually a good singer.
He cuts some of the funniest promos on his guitar with the songs and just runs down cities.
Yeah, I laughed out loud at his one at Elimination Chamber. He said, "This will
That
be
was-
good for all of you because you're used to looking at people through. Was it through glass?
Yeah, through bars or through glass.
Yes.
Yeah, it is awful. But he's also a Pittsburgh native.
I did not know
No,
that.
I didn't know that either.
Plum, right? I think he's
from Plum, PA.
Oh, from Plum.
Yeah.
No kidding.
The other pride of Plum.
Yeah. There's actually 3 guys on Raw right now. They're all from Pittsburgh. There's Elias. There's the announcer, Corey Graves.
Who's the third one?
Kurt Angle.
Oh, shit.
Doy.
Oh, he's still on.
Never mind.
Yeah.
he's
Kurt
the
Angle's
GM.
the GM now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
How about that?
But why don't you give us your beer that you would pair to represent Elias?
I paired Elias with Rivertown Sloppy Monster, which is awesome and underrated.
All right, then. I think Adam would definitely agree with you on that one. Adam's a big Rivertown fan.
Well, bigger than
But
you
that's
guys.
the double
yeah.
IPA, right? The Sloppy Monster.
Yeah, so now I'm at a bit of a crossroads here. What do I do?
I was gonna say you're a big fan of Rivertown, but not of double IPAs. So have
what
you
do
ever
I
had the
do?
Sloppy Monster?
But are you a big Elias fan?
I mean, he does his shtick well.
Yeah.
So I can't.
You don't
hate him
want
for
to
that.
walk with Elias? He might be my favorite character right now.
He's definitely probably in their top 5 heels.
Yeah.
Easy.
Like, I fully believed, like, I've been on the Dolph Ziggler train ever since he cashed in on Alberto Del Rio.
Oh, that was a fantastic.
And fully thought that one day he'd get back to that level.
Yeah.
And I thought when he left the belt in the ring,
Yeah.
I said he's going to come back and win the Rumble. And I was like, I was on board with that. And when he came in at 30, I'm like, okay, half the prediction's true. And then he got dumped in 3 minutes or
Right.
so. He sold out. He came back just to be the same guy he was when he left. Like, this is stupid. So Elias might be at the top of my list right now. He's
Yeah,
good.
he's definitely the most entertaining for the mic time he gets.
I think the Miz right now might be the best heel in wrestling. He's so freaking good. Like,
Yeah.
and that was out of nowhere. He just started. I'm like, damn, Miz is fun to watch now. He sucked for a
it really
long
is.
time, and now it's grown on me.
And turning on Daniel Bryan the way he did, and using him as almost inspiration.
And the promo he cut when he did it was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, he cuts his promos, he steals his moves.
Yep.
It's the most hated person around. Well, before we get too far in and making this a 4th segment, let's come back to the Beyond Infinity by Dancing Gnome. Everybody has thoughts, I'm sure.
Let's make Sam go last.
Okay. Well, Sam can go last.
Cruel.
Sam can go last, or we can let our guest go last, or our guest can go first.
The
let our guest go
the
first.
can said
Okay.
consume fresh, so mine's gone, and it's just freaking awesome. So that's my take.
Short and sweet. I like it.
I will say the very same. Like it has such a wonderful flavor profile that just kind of dances all over. Dancing Gnome.
Very nice.
Dances all over your gnome.
Yeah. Ew.
I don't really know what that means. It just seemed like the right thing to say at that moment.
Is it?
Hop Nation After Dark.
Yeah, I just really enjoy
The
it.
Night Fox would say.
Adam or Sam, one of you two.
Oh, I'm making Sam go last.
Okay.
Same thing as with the Grist House. It's not my jam, so I am 100% the guy to give an honest review, and I'm 100% not the guy to give an honest review on this one. So it's kind of split. And bottom line, for the style, it's good. The problem is, I don't like the style.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to split it right down the middle, 5 out of 10.
I think by saying that you would drink it over other IPAs.
That does say a lot right there, and it's true.
Yeah.
It is true. And these hazy IPAs, these New England IPAs, they're not necessarily growing on me, but they're not the worst thing in the world.
They're a lot easier to drink than
Yes.
a Green Flash
Yeah.
palette record.
God, those things are awful. Why would anybody do that to themselves?
I'd love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll do that to myself. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's
This is
fantastic.
the part where 3 guys say, yeah, we all
Yeah,
like
you
this.
guys can
We love it.
have them.
Palette records are great.
You guys
Yeah.
can have them.
But I can understand how you might appreciate the New England style a little bit more. It's a little smoother, a little more balanced.
It is, and
It's
I
a
do
little more
like
juicy.
the juiciness of it. I do appreciate that, and I do like that aspect of it. Unfortunately, it's just not enough for me to overcome the rest of it. But that's just me.
All right.
Sam?
You're up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like it. I thought it kind of sucked, actually, so I don't think there's much else to say.
Come to the dark side.
No, I'm not coming to the dark side. Are you kidding me? People respect my opinion on this show, Adam, when it comes to IPAs.
His
That's what I
wife
was
needs.
gonna say.
His
Not that
wife.
your opinion wasn't respected, but with IPAs, I mean, that's my wheelhouse. Like,
Also true.
you know, when I think about IPAs for this show, and you know, I picked these beers out for this one, so
You better like it.
You know, I better like it. That's true. But no, honestly, I mean, anything by Dancing Gnome is going to be fantastic. I mean, they're really hitting their stride now with their beers, and they're flavorful and they're juicy and dank and just. Oh my God, it's so great. Like, it doesn't even matter which one you have, really. I mean, they're all so good.
Are they paying you by the word?
I wish.
Are we getting the
Man.
Yeah.
Jason, you got to come back when we do Pizza Boy, and you'll
Yeah.
you'll hear a very similar.
Pizza Boy is one of my favorites too. I love that brewery.
For that one, you and I get to sit on the couch and give him a mic.
Oh, yeah.
3 hours
Yeah.
later, we'll be good.
So no, but honestly, I mean, especially their double IPAs like this one. I mean, they're just so flavorful and great, and I really can't say enough good things about it. So, yeah, I'm glad I have 10 more at my house.
Nice.
That's for sure.
All right, well, with that, I think it's time to take it to what we call the podium, where we give a bronze, silver, and gold ranking for the 3 beers we had tonight. They were all really good, so it's going to be a little tough for some of us. I'm going to start with Adam because I think it's pretty easy for him.
Way to spoil it. The bronze and the silver, those are very close, obviously, because they're a similar style. They have a similar approach. I would honestly, I'm gonna have to put the Grist House, the double-edged sword, in the bronze position. And the reason behind that, I thought that the Beyond Infinity did have a little bit more juiciness to it, which I can appreciate when you're getting into these New England style IPAs. But they're still very close. The caveat on this, obviously, is it's not my style. For the style, yes, they are good. I'm just not the guy for it. The other thing is, these 2 beers came up against just an absolute monster of a beer, and that is this Hitchhiker Cococcino. Just phenomenal. I'm gonna take a page out of Sam's book and I'm just gonna gush over it for about 10 minutes. I absolutely love that beer.
Yeah, I was gonna say we gotta wrap it up. We need to wrap it up box.
And then I will hit that wrap it up box. That is the gold, far and away, going away, no bones about it.
Okie doke. I'll go next. So I'm going to give the bronze to the Cococcino. That's not a knock against it. It is a fantastic beer. It's a fantastic porter. I would definitely want more of it anytime I was able to get it. But I kind of like these double IPAs a little bit more. I'm going to give the silver to the Beyond Infinity, though. That may surprise somebody.
Looking at
Hey, your opinion is your
I'm just
opinion.
saying, it may surprise somebody.
Doesn't mean it's right, but it's your opinion.
I just felt like I didn't find it as even drinking as the Grist House. The Grist House was really smooth and really tasty for me, and I feel like I could crush probably a 6-pack of the Grist House. Whereas I feel like I might get a little tired drinking the Beyond Infinity. It has too much of a bite at some points for me, but that's my opinion. Sam?
All right, so for me, Cococcino is in the bronze position, just like Steve. I really like the Cococcino, and I've been really impressed lately with what Hitchhiker is doing. But to me, I mean, that one just doesn't compare to these double IPAs. But one thing I will say about the Cococcino and what Hitchhiker is really doing for their stouts and their porters is, their stouts and porters are kind of like the IPAs that Dancing Gnome and Grist House are doing. I mean, they're equally as good in that style of beer. So I've been very impressed with what they've put out lately. So I look forward to, them to continue down that style path. Second for me in the silver position is going to be the double-edged sword by Grist House, and it is a very close second. I was thoroughly impressed with this beer. Like Jason said earlier in the show, I mean, Grist House has just been really, putting out some great IPAs, and they've had a few that have been in this New England style where they're real hazy and juicy, and this double-edged sword is no exception to that. It's a really, really good beer, and I'd highly recommend it. In first place for me, to the surprise of no one, is the Dancing Gnome Beyond Infinity. I mean, it's just an absolutely phenomenal beer, and I will say that it is one of the best IPAs and beers overall that I've had in the Pittsburgh craft beer community from any brewery around here. It's really good. It's right in my wheelhouse. It's almost as if it was brewed for me. So thank you, Andrew, and the team at Dancing Gnome for making this glorious beer that I get to enjoy at least 10 more times.
All right.
I'm not sharing them.
Yeah, so we know Sam doesn't share.
I've shared this one.
He shared
I
one.
put it on the show.
That's it.
Consider yourself privileged.
So we'll go to Jason.
Yeah, I don't think my rankings are too far off Sam's. I 3 awesome beers that I hadn't had any of before tonight, which is, I'm sorry, I take that back. I did have Beyond Infinity on tap, but not from the can. But yeah, Cococcino was awesome, and I loved what that beer did when it warmed up. But I just being more on gravitating more to the hoppy style beer, that's probably why it would fall in third place for me. Second place, in a very, very close race, just like you guys said, the double-edged sword would be in second place, and first place would be Beyond Infinity. And like I said, I mean that's just, it's hard to rank the two because the styles are so similar, but there's just those subtle differences between the two. It's really hard to say like one is better. It's almost like 1 and 1A.
Right.
But yeah, if I had to put a medal on somebody, I would say I'll go with the trend so I don't get punched on my way out and say Dancing Gnome 1 and Grist House 2, Hitchhiker 3. But yeah, all 3 awesome beers.
Yeah, when all 3 beers are awesome, the rankings don't matter.
It really is. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It only matters when we come across a beer that we actually hate and like, don't.
Very, very, very good point. I think any one of us would happily drink any of these beers again.
Yeah. Amen.
So with that, I'll just let Jason plug whatever he wants to plug.
He's got a lot.
Yeah,
you got a lot going on, so pick and choose.
I'm going to simplify it for everybody listening. Check out breakingbrews.com, and you can connect to all of our social networks, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. And of course, the actual blog has some good content you may or may not enjoy. But if you do, leave a comment. We love to hear what you have to say. And jasoncercone.com has connections to the Decent Exposure podcast and all the marketing stuff that I'm doing too. And then PittsburghLibationsWeek.com. So you can go to those 3 websites and learn pretty much everything you need to know about me and everything I've got going on right now.
And all the things going on in the world of adult beverage in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's plenty.
One-stop shopping.
Yes. That's why he's the guy.
My yard.
And if you want to find everything Hop Nation USA, all you have to do is search us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you want to listen to brand new episodes every Friday of the Hop Nation USA podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Google Music Play. And for just reviews, features, things you won't find on the show, you can go to hopnationusa.com. And if you have any questions, email us at hopnationusa@gmail.com. And that's all I got.
I think that's all we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's episode 49 in the book. So once again, just a big thank you to Jason Cercone for coming out and drinking some beers with us here on the show tonight. We appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks for having me,
And
guys.
certainly look forward to seeing around Pittsburgh at many of the different craft beer events and festivals and
Or perhaps a Libations Week?
Yes.
the Libations. Hopefully we'll see them before that because that's not until October. But a lot going on before October, but that'll be a big one. We'll definitely see them there. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks,
and
guys.
thank you.
Yes,
And,
great
Thanks for
time.
coming.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to sign off. Happy drinking, everyone, and to everyone out there, happy local drinking. Go out wherever you may be and support local and find a new local craft beer that you haven't had before and just sit down and enjoy. So until then, we'll be seeing you. And yeah, that's it. Anything else?
That's it.
I'm good.
That's it. We're gone. All right. See you, Hop Nation. We'll be back here next week.